From a young age, we're taught to become someone, to be more obedient, stronger, smarter. We learn to adjust our thoughts, suppress our emotions, and behave in ways that are considered acceptable. But have you ever paused and asked yourself, is the person you're showing to the world you? Carl Jung once said that ideas do not belong to people. It is ideas that possess people. Perhaps the way you think, the way you feel, even the way you love or get angry, isn't entirely your own choice. It may be the expression of something deeper, your innate personality. Maybe you're deeply emotional, but keep trying to act rational. Perhaps you live by intuition, but are always pushed to be realistic. And maybe, just maybe, you've lost your inner voice in the noise of external expectations. In this piece, we'll explore the 4 core personality types, according to Carl Jung: thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition, as psychological maps to help you return to your true nature. This isn't just a fun personality quiz. It's a key to understanding why you sometimes feel lost, or on the contrary, vividly alive, in a world that doesn't feel like yours. And who knows, you might realize, the truth of who you are isn't in what you strive to become, but in what you have always been all along. Number 1, 2 directions of the mind: introversion and extroversion. There's a truth few people realize. Before you can understand whether you're a thinker or a feeler, intuitive or sensing, you first need to know the direction in which your mind operates. Carl Jung called this psychological attitude, divided into 2 basic types. Processing information through reflection and inner analysis. The second may be an extrovert, processing through interaction and immediate feedback. Both are intelligent, both have value. But if they don't understand their different approaches, they might feel off track, even believe there's something wrong with them. The real issue is this: modern society tends to favor extroversion. From schools to workplaces, confidence, dynamism, and bold expression are often praised more than quiet, deliberate thought. This leaves many introverts feeling like they need to fix themselves, but neither type is better. What matters is knowing your type and developing it in the right direction. An introvert can be an exceptional leader, not because they talk a lot, but because they listen deeply. Abraham Lincoln, a clear introvert, once said, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt." Great thinkers, from Jung to Einstein, are living proof of the power of introversion. They didn't just retreat into thought, they reshaped the world from within. Conversely, introverts are the ones who bring ideas to life. They act, connect, and drive momentum. Oprah Winfrey is a clear example. She doesn't just connect through speech, but inspires through her emotional presence and collective resonance. Extroverts are the heartbeat of community. They make the world vibrant and interconnected. But the greatest danger, according to Jung, is when we identify with the social mask, the persona, instead of listening to our inner truth. An introvert who forces themselves to live like an extrovert just to be accepted may gradually lose their core, and vice versa. Living too long in a role that isn't yours can leave you drained, disoriented, even depressed, simply because your psychic energy is moving against your nature. Understanding whether you're introverted or extroverted isn't just about choosing the right job or friend circle. It's the foundation for how you nurture and protect your mental energy, how you stay centered. It's the first step in the process of individuation, the journey of becoming your full, unedited self, untouched by external molds. So next time you feel the need for stillness in a noisy world, or the urge to speak up in a room that's gone quiet, don't doubt yourself. Maybe it's not about having a good or bad personality. Maybe it's just your mind showing you the way. As Jung wrote, "What you are is much more than what you appear to be." Number 2, the 4 functions of the mind, how you process reality. If introversion and extroversion are the winds that move your mind, then the next thing we must understand is the sail, the way you receive, process, and respond to reality. According to Carl Jung, each person lives and experiences the world through one of 4 core mental functions, and one of them takes the lead, shaping how you think, feel, decide, love, react, and live. Jung didn't categorize people just so they could know who they are. He did it to point towards something much deeper. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Collected Works of C.G. Jung, Volume 10. So the real question is, which function are you using to see the world? And are you sure it's your natural one, not just the one you were taught to use? The first function is thinking, reasoning. People with thinking as their dominant function view life through the lens of logic, analysis, and structure. They make decisions based on facts, principles, and what makes the most sense, not what feels the most pleasant. If you've ever met someone who asks, "Does it make sense?" before asking, "How does it make me feel?" they may be a thinking type. Steve Jobs is an example. He could be extreme, demanding, even harsh toward others, not because he lacked emotion, but because his value system was grounded in bold logic and uncompromising standards. In Jungian psychology, these are people who prioritize truth over harmony. They may hurt others with blunt honesty, but that's how they remain truthful to themselves. The opposite of thinking is feeling, not just fleeting emotions, but a complex system of values, ethics, and human connection. Those with feeling as their dominant function always consider what aligns with their heart, what maintains harmony, and what feels right rather than what makes sense. Carl Jung wrote, "Feeling is not opposed to reason, it is a kind of reasoning." Psychological types, paragraph. 630. A mother forgiving her child, a social activist defending a minority group, or an artist creating something that brings people to tears, all operate from the feeling function. What makes them strong isn't emotion itself, but their loyalty to their core values. Do you lean more toward the head or the heart? Try commenting below. Do you choose logic, or what feels meaningful to you? Next is sensation, the function of the tangible. These are the people of the real world. They believe in what they can see, touch, taste, and verify. For them, the world isn't a concept, it's an experience. A skilled craftsman, a clinical doctor, or a meticulous photographer may be examples of dominant sensation types. Person has one dominant function, the main character of your mind, something that has shaped you since childhood and acts as the central filter through which you understand the world. But he also warned, the function we do not use is the one that holds our greatest growth potential. In other words, the part of you that you least use, the one you often reject, may be the very key to your growth and wholeness. We'll go deeper into that later. But right now, if you can honestly answer which of the 4 functions leads your way, you've already begun the most important journey of your life, the journey back to your true nature. And as Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Have you started to recognize where you fit among these 4 approaches? Share your thoughts in the comments, so this journey of discovery doesn't stop at insight, but opens a door to connection with the community walking this path of awakening beside you. Number 3, the 8 function attitude personality types. When function meets direction. Once we understand that each person has a dominant mental function, thinking, feeling, sensation, or intuition, the next question becomes even more intriguing. Where is that function directed? Jung pointed out that no function exists in a vacuum. It is always paired with a psychological attitude, introversion or extroversion. And it's this combination of function and direction that gives rise to 8 distinct psychological types, each a completely different way of perceiving and living in the world. This is where Jungian psychology becomes sharp and deeply evocative. Jung didn't box people into flat categories. He offered a mental map, a place where each intersection between function and attitude forms a vivid personality type, complete with logic, depth, and unique character. And if you've ever felt like, no one gets how I think, you may simply be running on a rare, but entirely valid, psychological operating system. Let's begin with the thinking group, people who live by logic. With extroverted thinking, TE, thought is directed outward. These individuals don't just think rationally. They turn logic into action, into systems, into practical efficiency. They're the executives, managers, engineers, people who want everything to run exactly as designed. Jung described them as those who judge by objective facts and laws and arrange the world to fit those structures. Psychological types, paragraph 638. However, without emotional development, they can come across as cold or distant, like walking machines, great at structure, but poor at connection. In contrast, introverted thinking, TI, is inward-turning logic, tightly focused analysis, dissecting things to their core. TI-dominant individuals may be quiet, but their minds are intricate labyrinths of hypotheses, principles, and deep reflection. They don't work to succeed out there, but to refine their inner understanding. Jung wrote, "He is interested only in ideas and seeks truth solely through logical deduction." Ibid. Paragraph 640. Philosophers, researchers, programmers, or anyone skilled in dissecting complex theoretical systems often fall into this category. Do you lean toward external logic or inward reflection? Comment below if you've ever felt frustrated by people who do without understanding or understand but never do. Now, to the feeling group, people who live by values and connection. With extroverted feeling, FE, emotion is turned outward. These individuals have a near instinctive ability to read others' emotions. They can sense the mood in a room, pick up on group dynamics, and often suppress personal desires to preserve harmony. Jung described them as people whose judgments are based on socially acceptable values. Ibid, paragraph 642. A passionate teacher, a community organizer, or a friend who always knows how to ease tension are all classic examples. By contrast, introverted feeling, Phi, is a deeply internal value system, quiet yet fiercely intense. These individuals don't live to please society, but to remain true to their code. They are artists, poets, or inward-facing individuals with a moral and emotional depth no one would guess at from the outside. Jung described them. Their feeling is deep, but hidden, not easily accessible to others. Ibid Mercetre paragraph 644. They don't speak often, but when they do, their words carry the weight of a soul that has never betrayed itself. Do you feel more at ease expressing emotion outwardly or protecting something sacred within? Share your experience, and let's appreciate the beauty in both ways of being. Now, to the sensation group, people are grounded in the physical and the real. Extroverted sensing, SE types, experience the present with every cell in their bodies. They thrive on action, challenge, sensory input, and vibrant experiences. Jung described them as objective sensation types, guided by the actual object, Ibid paragraph 605. You'll find them in sports, performance arts, manual work, or any field requiring fast, direct response. Spots, and what matters most is whether you're living in alignment with your natural mode of mind. Because if not, you'll always feel like you're playing a role and forget that the role never belonged to you. Have you recognized your type yet? Or are you still navigating between a few? Share your reflections in the comments so we can continue this exploration together. In the next section, we'll dive into one of Jung's most profound insights, that it is our least used function, the one we tend to ignore, that holds the key to true wholeness. Number 4, the auxiliary and inferior functions, the psychological hierarchy within you. If the dominant function is the main character in the psychological drama of your life, there are still 3 supporting players working behind the scenes, sometimes helping, interrupting, and at times holding the key to unlocking the entire plot. Carl Jung didn't stop at classifying personality into 8 combinations. He went further, showing that within each of us lies an inner motivational system composed of 4 functional layers, a psychological hierarchy that forms the unique mental structure of every individual. First is the dominant function. This is the mental function you rely on most naturally and consistently, and it almost becomes your identity. A person with dominant thinking will prioritize logic. A person with dominant feeling will always weigh emotional and relational values, and the same applies for sensation or intuition. This function begins developing early in childhood and becomes the central axis of how you understand and process the world. Jung described it as a center of consciousness, the place where the ego places its deepest trust. If the psyche were a company, the dominant function would be the CEO. But no CEO operates well without a strong assistant. That's the auxiliary function. This is the second function that develops alongside the dominant and acts as a counterbalance. For example, if you're an intuitive dominant, skilled at grasping abstract ideas, sensation might serve as your auxiliary to ground you in concrete reality and help turn ideas into action. Or someone with feeling as their main function might need thinking to avoid being swept away by blind emotion. Jung considered the combination of the dominant and auxiliary functions to be the core of a mature individual, providing both flexibility and psychological stability. Have you ever felt that you generally think one way, but in certain situations suddenly you respond entirely differently? That could be your auxiliary function stepping in, offering an alternate perspective so you're not trapped in a one-sided view. Try commenting below. What do you think your auxiliary function is? And do you use it consciously? Next is the tertiary function. This one tends to be overlooked, but it plays the role of a latent character who can shine as you mature. It usually develops more slowly and often shows up in leisure, creativity, or moments when you step out of role a little. For instance, someone with dominant thinking might have intuition as their tertiary, and occasionally they're struck by bursts of visionary insight even they can't fully explain. Jung believed this function could be cultivated more intentionally in the second half of life, when we're less confined by external roles and begin exploring ourselves more holistically. And then, buried deepest of all, is the inferior function, the one we neglect, avoid, or even outright reject. It's the part of your psyche you rarely access, and when you do, it may leave you feeling uncomfortable, overwhelmed, or out of control. A person driven by logic may feel completely awkward expressing emotion. Someone deeply emotional may freeze when asked to perform cold, objective analysis. According to Jung, this function is pushed into the personal unconscious, becoming part of what he called the shadow within the function hierarchy. But it's also a hidden treasure, containing traits you must integrate to become the most complete version of yourself. Jung wrote, "The inferior function is always the most strongly toned and at the same time the most unconscious." Psychological Types, paragraph 764. In other words, it's the part most easily triggered in moments of stress, leading to overreactions or surprising emotional outbursts. But because it lies beyond your conscious control, if you're brave enough to face it, it can open an entirely new depth of personal development. Think of it this way: the dominant function is the road you always walk, the auxiliary is the map you carry, the tertiary is a side path you wander when you have time, and the inferior is the locked door you pass daily, but have never dared to open. Until one day, life pushes you to the edge, and that door swings open, and suddenly you see parts of yourself you never knew existed. Can you recognize your inferior function? Have you ever felt lost or overwhelmed in situations that required it? Don't worry, it's not a fixed weakness. For Jung, identifying and integrating the inferior function is the gateway to the process of individuation, the journey to becoming a whole person. And The energetic extrovert who feels strangely empty in private. The rational thinker who panics when deep empathy is required. The emotional soul that crumbles under pressure to stay detached. These fractures aren't signs that you're broken. They're inner calls, urging you to become a deeper version of yourself. Jung saw in every person a central self, larger and deeper than the ego. The ego is only the surface, the social persona you construct from childhood. But the self is all of you, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow. And individuation is the process by which the ego learns to dialogue with the unconscious, so you're no longer driven by invisible forces, but grounded in clear, authentic awareness. He wrote, "The goal of the individuation process is the synthesis of the self." Ibid. One of the most powerful illustrations of individuation is the archetypal hero's journey, the one who leaves their comfort zone, enters darkness, faces the monster, a symbol of the shadow, and returns not as a victor, but as someone who has integrated the wild, unconscious parts of their being. It's no different than an extrovert learning to listen inwardly, an introvert daring to act, a thinker opening the heart, or a feeler learning to set firm boundaries. But this process isn't easy. It requires courage to admit, I don't fully know myself. Many people avoid their weaknesses, suppress inner contradictions, and choose to live on autopilot, running programs built by a preconditioned ego. But as Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. CW Volume 9. You may think you're free, but you're only being led by parts of yourself you've never brought into the light. Individuation is also not a destination. It's a lifelong process. Jung described it as a spiral. Every time you think you've found yourself, a deeper layer unfolds. A woman entering her 40s might awaken to an intuition she never trusted before. A financially successful man might suddenly realize he's never learned to listen to his own emotions. No one is born whole, but everyone can move toward inner wholeness if they are brave enough. There's a compelling example from Jung's own life. In a period of psychological crisis after breaking away from Freud, he embarked on his individuation by painting, recording dreams, and engaging directly with the symbols of his unconscious. These records became the Red Book, a vivid documentation of the dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious. Jung didn't just theorize individuation, he lived it, and he emphasized that anyone can walk this path, whether you're a teacher, doctor, father, mother, or someone who simply feels not okay with themselves. You don't need to change to become better. You only need to become more complete by connecting with both the parts of you that shine and the parts you've abandoned. This takes patience, self-compassion, and the courage to swim against the current of social expectation. Because, as Jung once wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Remember, your strengths help you survive, but your weaknesses, if seen in the right light, help you awaken. There is no individuation if you only double down on what you're already good at. Wholeness comes when you embrace all of yourself, both the radiant and the hidden parts you once tried to bury. And if you're currently in a phase of chaos, confusion, or feeling lost, don't be too quick to label it as a problem. You may be standing at the very center of the individuation process. This journey isn't always clear, but it is always real. And sometimes, the moment you no longer know who you are, is the exact doorway into discovering who you truly are. Number 6. Applying it to real life. The key isn't in strengths alone. After diving deep into the inner structure of the mind, from dominant functions to the individuation journey, the natural question that follows is, how does all of this help me in real, everyday life? Carl Jung didn't study the human psyche to be discussed only in theory. He cared about real human lives, where conflict, choice, and crisis happen daily. And in that space, understanding yourself through the 4 core functions isn't a luxury for scholars. It's a vital tool for living with more clarity, health, and authenticity. First, let's talk about relationships, where differences in cognitive function are often misunderstood as being difficult, irrational, or insensitive. When a thinking type speaks directly, a feeling type might feel hurt. When an intuitive offers a vague idea, a sensing type may think they're being unrealistic. But if both understand that they're simply processing reality through different psychological operating systems, they'll stop judging and start translating each other's inner language. Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." CW Volume 10. Conflicts won't vanish, but instead of attacking or avoiding, we can shift into listening and transformation. Have you ever met someone and thought, why do they think like that? Maybe they're not wrong. We'll ask what's meaningful, fair, or aligned with core values. A sensing type looks for concrete facts and takes action step by step. An intuitive type rises above the moment to find patterns, insights, and creative possibilities. No method is better, only better suited to the context. A strong team isn't uniform. It's a team that knows how to integrate different cognitive strengths. Picture a startup. The intuitive person generates the product vision. The thinking person builds the systems and roadmap. The feeling person ensures the team stays emotionally intact under stress. The sensing person double-checks the practical details. Jung didn't design his theory to rank people. He designed it so each person could recognize their unique role in a complex whole. And deeper than anything else, understanding your cognitive functions helps you stop living for external expectations and start living from your inner truth. In a noisy world where everyone wants you to be a better version of someone else, knowing yourself is a quiet act of rebellion and awakening. Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." CW Volume 10. When you know how your mind works, you stop comparing and start building a life that fits the rhythm of your psyche. No one else can tell you how to live, except you. And to do that, you need to know more than what you like. You need to understand how your mind processes the world. Maybe you're a dreamer, that's okay. Maybe you're not emotional the way others expect. That's okay too. What matters isn't whether you resemble someone else, but whether you're living in tune with your psychological operating system. Are you living out of sync with your dominant function? Have you ever felt forced to become someone you're not? If so, you're not alone. But you also don't have to stay there. The truth is, you can recalibrate your life, not by trying harder, but by understanding yourself more deeply. And that journey begins with a deceptively simple question. How does my mind work? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, who am I, really, and what part of me have I left behind? Maybe it's an emotion you were taught to hide, an intuition you once dismissed as irrational, a different way of thinking you were made to believe was wrong. But if Carl Jung were alive today, he wouldn't tell you to change to fit in. He would look at you in all your light and shadow and say, return to your true self, because the very place you feel incomplete is where wholeness begins. We weren't born to chase molds. We were born to become ourselves, fully, with all the functions, contradictions, and depths that the world may never quite understand. Jung called this a privilege, not a burden. Not everyone dares to live authentically, but everyone has the right to. The journey of self-discovery doesn't end with picking a type and slapping on a label. It begins when you're honest enough to listen to your mind, brave enough to integrate the parts you once avoided, and patient enough to become a deeper version of yourself, not perfect, but real. So ask yourself, have you truly become who you are, or are you just playing a role the world prefers to see? If this journey of self-discovery through Carl Jung's lens has stirred something deep within you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel to continue walking alongside stories, symbols, and insights that awaken the depths of your soul. Sometimes, it only takes a tiny crack to ruin an entire day. A passive-aggressive remark, a cold glance, someone is cutting you off in traffic, a text message that goes unanswered, and suddenly, the peace, the clarity, the calm you were holding on to shatters. The silence inside you collapses. And now, your mind spirals. Thoughts race. You're caught in overthinking, anxiety, and reaction. Madness, isn't it? How fragile our inner world becomes when it depends entirely on what happens outside of us. We live in a culture where emotional reactivity is almost normalized. We're expected to respond, to clap back, We need to care deeply about how others perceive us, what they think, and how they react. We are told that sensitivity is a strength. But rarely are we taught how to remain grounded amid emotional storms. We're encouraged to express our emotions, but not how to master them. And this is where Carl Jung steps in with a clarity that cuts through illusions and liberates the soul. Here's the truth. The world doesn't hurt you. You do it to yourself every time you hand over the reins of your emotional state to someone else. So the real question is, how do you take your power back? How do you reach a place where no one and nothing can break you anymore? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to reveal may change your life forever. Number 1. Everything you feel passes through your inner filter. Have you ever wondered why some people, no matter what happens, seem to move through life with unshakable calm? They face crises, losses, and uncertain moments, yet still manage to stay grounded. Meanwhile, others appear constantly on the verge of collapse, trapped in their own emotions and reactions, even in the most mundane situations. Is it a matter of luck, personality, or is there an unseen principle that separates those who master their inner world from those who are enslaved by it? Carl Jung once said, "It all depends on how we look at things and not how they are in themselves." This is where most people go wrong. They believe reality is objective, that things simply happen and their emotions are inevitable consequences of external events. But that's not true. Everything you experience, absolutely everything, is filtered through the way you interpret life, through the beliefs you've carried for years, and through the emotions you never learned to manage. It's like wearing tinted glasses that color everything you see. Whatever stands before you, you perceive it through that lens. And if that lens is distorted, the world will reflect that distortion, not because life is unfair, but because you can't see beyond what exists within you. Specifically, if the lens is tinted with fear, you'll see danger in every tiny gesture. If it's colored by shame, you'll feel inferior in every conversation. If it's shaded by past wounds, you'll assume everyone is out to hurt you. The world hasn't changed, but your experience of it becomes completely different, simply because of the lens you're wearing. And here lies the tragedy. So many people go through life never realizing what kind of glasses they have on. They don't know that every emotion, behavior, and reaction stems from how they interpret reality, not from reality itself. But here's the key no one ever tells you. The solution isn't to escape or numb difficult emotions, nor uniqueness. Jung taught that fear, like every emotion, isn't the enemy, but a teacher in disguise, a signal pointing towards something inside you that needs to be acknowledged. Imagine a young woman. Every time her boyfriend doesn't text back immediately, she feels abandoned. Her heart races, her palms sweat, her mind begins crafting painful scenarios. He doesn't love me anymore. He's probably talking to someone more important. But then, in a therapy session, she realizes she's wearing glasses tinted by childhood abandonment. Her mother used to leave for work trips for weeks at a time without calling home. Every time her mother was absent, she felt invisible. That wound was never healed. It buried itself deep in her unconscious, and now it recreates that pain in the present, despite different circumstances. This isn't just her story. It's the story of millions. It could be yours. It could be mine. It could be anyone who has never been taught how to remove the unconscious lenses through which they live each day. Ask yourself, do I often feel hurt by small things? Do I tend to assume the worst, even when others mean no harm? Do I frequently feel left out, even when there's no clear reason? If so, you're living under the influence of a psychological lens you've never named. And trust me, realizing that is the first step toward freedom. Every mental filter you don't confront will keep shaping how you love, how you live, and how you see yourself. And eventually, you'll think that's just fate, or this is just how I am. When in truth, you're only reacting to what's inside you, not to the world outside. But even once you've identified the lens you're wearing, the journey to inner freedom still hasn't truly begun. You must understand where those colors came from and how they've shaped the inner child within you. And that's when we begin to peel back a deeper layer of truth. The root of every wound lies in the parts of you that remain unhealed. Number 2. The root of all wounds lies in the part of you that remains unhealed. You wake up one morning feeling drained, but this exhaustion isn't from lack of sleep. It goes deeper. It's the weight of something you're carrying inside, an emotional burden that refuses to be ignored. Maybe it's a conversation that didn't go as expected, a piece of criticism that keeps echoing in your mind, a mistake you can't forgive yourself for, or a regret that won't stop resurfacing. You ask yourself, why, despite trying so hard, am I still affected by what others think? Why do I keep replaying moments I should have already let go of? But Carl Jung was clear. Everything that disturbs you in the outer world is a mirror of something within you that hasn't been healed yet. It stems from emotional wounds still silently bleeding, wounds you may not even remember the origin of. It's not the criticism itself that hurts. It's the part of you that still doubts your own worth. It's not other people's indifference that upsets you. It's your unmet need for recognition still screaming for attention. And until you address the root of what's affecting you, you'll stay stuck in the same loops, repeating the same patterns. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." When you haven't brought old wounds to light, they continue to run your present life like an autopilot program, dragging you back to the past with every present reaction. All of us carry an inner child that's still trembling, still waiting to be loved the right way. That child was once neglected, scolded, and taught to stay quiet just to be accepted. And that very child is still driving you through every outburst of anger, every time you retreat out of fear of getting hurt, every decision you make just to please others. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of us that were rejected, suppressed, or denied because they didn't align with the image of goodness society expected. And the shadow doesn't vanish just because you try to ignore it. It simply sinks deeper, subtly shaping unconscious reactions that hurt you in the same places, making you stumble over the same reasons. Jung believed the unconscious doesn't merely store repressed impulses, it transforms them. He saw the unconscious not as a passive container, but as an active shaping force. When parts of the self are denied, they don't lie dormant, they mutate. They try to express themselves through indirect, often destructive means. The more they're suppressed, the more symbolic and irrational their manifestations become. And you know what's frightening? The more you ignore the unhealed parts of yourself, the more likely you are to attract experiences that force you to confront them. Jung called this the projection of the shadow, when the parts of ourselves we reject are projected onto the external world. You fear being controlled. You'll see oppressors everywhere. You haven't forgiven yourself. You'll feel judged by everyone. You feel unworthy? You'll find yourself entangled in relationships that hurt you. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, is there a reaction you keep repeating? Is there a type of person who always triggers old pain in you? If so, share your thoughts. By the fear of facing their inner world. Instead of listening to their emotions, they silence them with distractions, work, entertainment, relationships that provide only momentary comfort, continuing to avoid what truly needs to be seen. But what if, instead of resisting emotions, you paused? What if, instead of ignoring sadness, you observed it? What if, instead of hiding from fear, you asked what it's trying to tell you? Every emotion carries a hidden message. Sadness often signals that something needs to be released, a connection no longer serving you, an unmet expectation, a part of you that's ready to be freed. Fear reveals limiting beliefs. deep-rooted ideas that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve what you long for, that failure must be avoided at all costs. And this is where the problem begins. The more you resist emotion, the more persistent it becomes. A repressed emotion doesn't disappear. It turns into a burden you carry daily, a whisper in your mind, a hidden barrier holding you back without you even realizing it. Carl Jung said, "Emotion is the chief source of all becoming. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion." Emotions are not a burden. They are raw material for the deepest human transformation. Imagine a storm, howling wind, pouring rain, and dark skies. You try to fight it. Push back the wind with your hands, hold off the rain, resist the storm's power. But the more you fight, the more exhausted you become. The storm doesn't stop because you resist. It stops when you let it pass. Anger, something we often try to suppress, is a signal that your boundaries are being violated, that something in your environment is not respecting your true self. When you begin to see emotions not as obstacles, but as guides, something within you shifts. And when your inner world shifts, so does the outer one. Now think of a situation where you tend to react automatically, an argument with a loved one, a conflict at work, or a moment where you feel attacked or insecure. Instead of reacting instinctively, pause, breathe. Observe the scene as a witness, detached, as if you're watching from the outside. Ask yourself, what part of me is reacting right now? Is it truly the external situation affecting me, or something within me that has always been there? The answer could change your entire life. Because once you understand that what happens outside can only affect you if your inner world allows it, you begin to reclaim your power. Jung spoke of the silent observer, the conscious part of you that remains unshaken by emotion or external events. The still space within you that stays calm no matter what happens. When you access that part of your mind, you discover that nothing and no one has the power to affect you unless you permit them. Every time something throws you off balance, it's not because the world is unfair or others are hurting you. It's because there's something in you that still needs healing. And that's the real key to unshakable peace, not changing the outside world, but transforming the way you experience it. When you master this, storms no longer scare you because you understand they're temporary, and behind every storm is an opportunity for growth. If you analyze your thoughts deeply, you'll realize many of them aren't even yours. They were absorbed at some point in life and unconsciously accepted as absolute truth. Here's the message for you. You don't have to keep holding on to them. Imagine that from today, you choose to shift your mindset. Instead of telling yourself you're not enough, you begin to absorb the idea that you are always capable, that the only thing holding you back is the story you keep repeating to yourself. Jung taught that the subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. It only responds to the program you feed it. If you begin to nourish your mind with belief, your external reality will eventually reflect that belief. Now apply this to real life. Someone who spends their entire life fearing they're unlovable. Maybe they learned early on that love must be earned through effort by pleasing others, sacrificing themselves to gain recognition. Now, as adults, they live with a deep sense of never being enough, believing they have to keep striving to avoid rejection. How do you break that loop? The first step is to see it. Jung spoke of shadow integration, bringing what's hidden inside us into the light. When this person realizes they're trapped in a fear-based pattern, fear of rejection, fear of unworthiness, they begin to reclaim their power. They understand their worth isn't defined by others' approval, but by how they see themselves. And then something changes. They begin to set boundaries. They learn to say no without guilt. They prioritize themselves without fearing abandonment. And the most beautiful part is, when they change, the people around them begin to change too. They're no longer sought after just for what they give, but for who they truly are. That's when the cycle breaks. Now consider another case. Someone who believes that failure is shameful. Every time they try something new and fall short, they punish themselves with self-destructive thoughts, compare themselves to others, feel stuck, convinced opportunity for growth, where every situation holds a lesson, we'll begin to experience the world in a completely different way. Jung also said, "What you resist persists." The more you struggle with life from a place of fear and effort, the more you'll encounter exactly what you're trying to avoid. But if you learn to move with life, open to the idea that every experience has something to teach, the tension inside you will begin to dissolve. Number 4, the journey of inner transformation. Imagine the power of living this way, not fearing failure because you know it doesn't define you, not fearing the gaze of others because the only view that matters is how you see yourself, not fearing uncertainty because you trust that whatever life brings, you're capable of handling it. This is true freedom, not one that depends on circumstance, but one born from within. Because when you free yourself from the invisible chains imposed by your mind, nothing and no one can imprison you again. And in that moment, you discover that the peace you've always been searching for was never outside you. It's been inside, waiting to be recognized. When we avoid facing our shadows, they manifest in ways we don't realize. Anxiety, recurring conflicts, repetitive patterns. But when we choose to look directly at what we once avoided, we find it's not the enemy, it's a part of us needing to be understood. As you begin to explore those parts, fear loses its grip. You're no longer a puppet of the past, but the architect of the present. Apply this to a real situation. You're in an important conversation, perhaps with a boss, a business partner, or someone you care about. Before speaking, you feel nervous. Your mind floods with doubt, and your body tenses. In the past, you might have tried to suppress those emotions, ignore them, or let them control you. But this time, you do something different. You take a deep breath, acknowledge the feeling without letting it take over, and ask, which part of me is feeling this? What story am I telling myself? Suddenly you realize the fear isn't from this moment. It's an old pattern resurfacing. In that instant, rather than reacting from insecurity, you respond with clarity. You speak with confidence and presence because you're no longer acting from an old wound, but from the most conscious version of yourself. This is where transformation begins. And when you stop fighting yourself, when you embrace every part of who you are, you begin to live a life that's truly yours. Learning to see reality through a different lens doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It means learning how to be at peace, even when everything around you isn't. It means realizing the power you were looking for outside has always lived within you, waiting to be reclaimed. And once you see that truth, nothing and no one can influence you the way they used to, because you now understand that true freedom doesn't come from controlling the world, but from releasing the illusion that you ever needed to. So what happens if you choose differently? Instead of reacting impulsively when something upsets you, you pause, you breathe, and instead of letting anger or sadness consume you, you ask, why is this affecting me so deeply? In doing so, you start to see the truth. The problem was never the other person or the situation itself. It was the story you created around it. You realize the fear of rejection you feel today didn't begin today. It began years ago when you first learned to associate acceptance with your self-worth. You see that the guilt you carry doesn't belong to you. It's a habit you formed when you believed that making mistakes meant you weren't good enough. And this is where you take your power back. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotion, you ask, if this emotion is a message, what is it trying to tell me? Maybe it's telling you that it's time to trust yourself more, to stop seeking validation from the world, and start giving it to yourself. Maybe it's showing you that you need to stop living by others' expectations and start building your own truth. The key doesn't lie in what you feel, it lies in how you transform it. And in that moment, instead of feeding your emotions with repetitive thoughts, you choose to act differently. Now think back to a moment in the past, perhaps a heated argument with someone close. Voices raised, emotions flaring. In the past, you fell into the same trap. You raised your voice, let anger take over. But this time, you remember what Jung said about the shadow. What bothers us most in others is a mirror of something we haven't integrated within ourselves. Instead of reacting with anger, you pause and ask, is this person really making me feel this way, or is there something deeper? And in that moment, instead of being a prisoner of emotion, you become its master. You take control, not by suppressing how you feel, but by choosing how to respond. That small shift in perspective has a profound impact on your life. You no longer feel like a victim of circumstances. You begin to see every emotion, every conflict, every challenge as a chance to better understand yourself. You no longer react from fear or insecurity. You respond from awareness, knowing that nothing and no one can truly affect you unless you allow it. Ones that liberate you. But here's where many people get stuck. They want to change, but they cling to the same old stories. They keep saying, "I'm just a sensitive person. I always get affected by others. I can't control my emotions." Do you see how these statements become part of your identity? As long as you define yourself this way, you'll keep reliving the same loops. But what if you questioned them? What if every time you thought "I'm too emotional," you stopped and asked, "Is this really true? Or just something I've repeated so many times I started believing it?" This is what you must do. Change your internal narrative, not with empty affirmations, but by creating new experiences that reinforce true transformation. Jung spoke of the importance of integration, bringing what has always lived in the dark into the light. And that means instead of running from pain, you sit with it, you observe it. And instead of rejecting it, you accept it, not as fate, but as part of your story. Because ultimately, words only have power if you give them. If someone says you'll never succeed, those words can only hurt if a part of you fears they might be true. But if you've done the inner work, if you've built your confidence, those words become background noise, powerless, weightless. But people often ask, how do I get to the point where nothing affects me? Not by convincing yourself of anything. That only builds a fragile shield that shatters at the first impact. Real strength lies in flexibility, in the ability to feel everything without letting anything control you. Carl Jung once said that true freedom comes when you stop identifying with every fleeting thought and passing emotion, when you learn to observe feelings without attachment, without letting them define who you are. That's when you unlock a new level of awareness. Let's look at an example. Maybe you often feel that people take advantage of you, that you give too much and receive too little. In the past, this made you frustrated, feeling used and powerless. But now, instead of being stuck in the victim role, you decide to change the dynamic. You ask yourself, where am I failing to set boundaries? Why is it hard for me to say no? Gradually, you begin setting clear rules, not from anger, but from self-respect. You realize that when you respect yourself, others start to do the same. When you stop overextending yourself to avoid upsetting others, you regain something far more precious, your own peace. And when you change, the entire world begins to respond to this new version of you. Like tuning a radio to a new frequency, when you stop broadcasting signals of insecurity, you begin attracting experiences aligned with your new energy. Suddenly, what once felt impossible, calm, confidence, and clarity become your natural state. And when you fully absorb this shift, you'll notice something remarkable. The world no longer feels like a hostile place. Other people no longer hold the power to hurt you. Situations that once triggered anxiety lose their grip because you no longer view them through a lens of fear. You've finally taken ownership. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never let anything or anyone steal your peace again. Because when you permit yourself to prioritize inner peace without guilt, everything in your life starts to align naturally. Jung spoke of the importance of individuation, the process of becoming your true self, breaking free from the external conditioning that shaped you. And it begins with the courage to listen to yourself in a world constantly telling you how to think, feel, and act. This is where the practice of inner stillness becomes essential. Jung believed the mind is filled with noise, a constant inner dialogue we rarely question. But what happens if, every day, you take a moment just to be with yourself? No distractions, no phones, no social media, no need to do anything, just you and your presence. In those moments, you begin to notice what was once overlooked. You become aware of what you truly feel, of what needs to change, of the messages your intuition has been trying to send you. And in that silence, you feel something new: detachment. Not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that what others say or do has no power to define you. This clarity isn't achieved overnight. It's a practice, a commitment to return to the role of the observer, rather than being swept away by the waves of emotion. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And to do that, you cannot keep living like a leaf blown about by every gust of emotional wind. You must choose to become the roots, deep, grounded, unwavering, not trembling at every careless word or thoughtless action. Your emotions now are like temporary guests, not absolute truths. Like waves on the ocean, intense for a moment, but always fleeting. Instead of resisting the current, you simply let it pass, trusting that on the other side of the storm, peace is always waiting. Society will continue to expect your reaction. People will still expect you to be angry, sad, disappointed, or panicked, as if